Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So, I had intended to do this video a few days ago that I had done the Biden post-summit speech, and now I wanted to do Putin's. Ran into technical issues over the weekend, so I wasn't able to get this done until today. Sorry for the delay. So I'm wearing my glasses because I'm going off my notes on this, okay? Besides, they help hide the freaking bags under my eyes a little bit. So, let's compare what Biden and Putin had in their speeches here. So with Putin, repeatedly Biden has referred to Russia as an enemy and so forth and so on. And yet, if you have not watched Putin's speech in its entirety, I really encourage you doing so. I encourage you to watch both speeches in their entirety and listen to just what the difference is between them. That said, okay, what Putin said was he talks about the United States and Russia working together. There's no bluster. There's no, I told him, and, and there will be consequences. No, there's none of that. None of that. Absolutely none. He went on to talk about the Minsk Accords with Ukraine. Do you know when the Minsk Accords were signed? In 2014, 7 years ago. Do you know who has violated the Minsk Accords every step of the way? Who has refused to stand by them? Ukraine. Is the United States, is Biden going to hold Ukraine accountable for not, abiding by this agreement? I mean, both Biden and Putin brought up the Minsk Accords, but Biden in no way holds Ukraine accountable for violating these accords. And he's not going to. We're sending money and weapons to Ukraine. We are, enabling them to further violate the Minsk Accords. And what now? They want to let Ukraine into NATO. How is that part of the Minsk Accords? It's not. And in fact, it's a direct, opposition and violation of the Minsk Accords. All right, so, while I was watching this, I noticed that I was watching it on ABC on YouTube, and I noticed that they blocked the vocals of any journalist from any other source while they were asking a question. Wait, are they afraid of violating some copyright from a question when they're still showing the response from Putin? What the hell is that? Not even recognizing the questions. All right, so Putin goes on to talk about cybercrime. The source of cyber attacks. Now, I actually looked this up and what he said. He says that the U.S. is the source of most cyber attacks. And I looked it up. And the U.S. is number one. This is by Symantec, one of the world's leading cybersecurity firms. The United States is number one in cyber attacks. We are responsible, our country, hackers in our country are responsible for 23% of the world's cyber attacks. Russia comes in at number 12 and only accounts for 2% of the world's freaking cyber attacks. China's number 2 at only 9%, less than half of what comes from the United States. And yet we're going to hold the Russian government accountable for 2%. And don't forget, Vault 7 from WikiLeaks. If you don't know about that, then look it up. All right. Russia has had 3 to 4 times as many attacks on them from the U.S. versus Russia attacking any entities in Russia attacking the U.S. I mean, seriously, attacks against Russia from the U.S. are 300 to 400% higher than from Russia against the United States. Formal requests for assistance, from the U.S. go absolutely unanswered. Russia, according to Putin, has had about 10 requests for formal assistance from the government regarding cyber attacks this year, and Russia has responded to every one of them. And yet, there have been at least 45 requests from Russia to the U.S. government, and they have not received a single answer on any of them. All right. I have to make a side note here. If you watch this speech by Putin, something you notice is that the journalists from all other countries, when they are asking a question of President Putin, they stand in respect. The U.S. reporters remain seated in an overt sign of disrespect. The CNN reporter had completely confrontational body language. You watch him and he looks like he's just trying to start a fight. I mean, he's all red in the face and he looks like he's going to blow an aneurysm. He really does. Watch the video. And he remains seated, even so much that he won't even take the microphone. He makes this woman stoop over to hold the microphone for him while he's waving his freaking hand around. So, I mean, these are things that make the United States just look like the trailer park of the world. Because we are the trailer park of the world. All right. Putin calls out violence on U.S. streets. And he calls out U.S. war crimes. Afghanistan, Guantanamo, CIA black sites. And, we talk about authoritarianism and fascism and all this stuff and how aggressive Russia is, and yet we are responsible for far more human rights abuses than Russia has ever thought of. The Arctic, he talks about the Arctic. Restoring what Russia is doing, he says, is restoring pre-existing infrastructure, including military and search and rescue and environmental protections, which is new. He names international laws, on this subject. He talks about international laws, while Biden talks about the rules-based order and all this crap, which has no basis in law. And the U.S. rules-based order very often, I've pointed out in previous videos, how the United States violates international laws, including the laws of war going back to 1907. So while Russia's talking about international laws, you know, Biden is talking about, you know, arbitrary rules-based order with rules written by the United States. You know, and those rules can change anytime that the United States says that they've changed. Because those are not rules. Those are not even rules. This is not practice. This is just whatever we say goes. All right, so he doesn't name but calls out U.S. government for supporting violent, subversive entities inside Russia. Institutions, like National Endowment for Democracy, that have spread information, you know, like instructions on how to make Molotov cocktails. Wait, how would you feel if another government was airing such information inside the United States instead of you know, Facebook ads for Bernie coloring books? Okay. So, in spite of sanctions, Russia's trade has grown by 16% in the past year. U.S. companies lost trade with Russia, and yet we still have a trade deficit with Russia. We still buy more from them than they buy from us. You want to improve trade, but you're offending Russia and putting sanctions on them and putting tariffs on China and offending their government. How does this work? You want to talk about free trade, and then you impose all of these sanctions and rules and, you know, seizing tankers from Iran. Yeah, none of that is free trade. So, in the end, though, Putin speaks respectfully of Biden. You know, all the way through his speech, and every time you hear him talk, he speaks respectfully of Biden. He also spoke respectfully of Trump. He spoke respectfully about Obama. Yeah, this is called diplomacy. This man is a diplomat. He knows what diplomacy actually is. Diplomacy is not held at the end of a gun. COVID. He points out that Russia sent ventilators to the United States early in the pandemic free of charge. Something like 700 ventilators they sent us. Have we helped anybody else like that? No. All right. He addresses claims of Russian unpredictability that Biden refers to. You know, he compares it to the U.S. Withdrawal from the anti-ballistic missile treaty. Withdrawal from the intermediate nuclear treaty, the INF treaty. The withdrawal from the Open Skies Treaty. The U.S. supporting the Ukraine coup in 2014 and supporting the militarism of the Ukrainian government to, to what? To overthrow the separatists in Donbass, to murder the separatists in Donbass, to violate the Minsk agreement. This is what we are supporting. We're illegally occupying, and he didn't go this far into it, but we are illegally occupying Syria, Iraq, because they told us they want our forces gone, and Afghanistan. We had made an agreement to leave Afghanistan. Now it's pushed back to September, and it remains to be seen if we're going to honor that. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to find a treaty or agreement that the United States actually respects and abides by. Look at how we have treated the Native Americans in this country. We don't respect treaties or agreements with any other countries or within our own country. And we never have. You can't go back to some anachronistic time when we were the good guys, because we never were. We have always violated our agreements. And we will continue to violate our agreements until we change, when we make demands. And that's the only way that this is going to change. All right, please talk about these subjects. Share this video. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.